So if you are thinking about moving to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, this could potentially be the most important video that you watch on my channel. Now, it might not be the most fun and exciting video because I'm not out and about touring homes or touring communities or talking about all the great stuff there is to do in Myrtle Beach, but I do think that this video is important. I think that it can save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of stress, and potentially even a lot of money. And this is specifically if you're planning on financing your purchase when you move here to the beach. Hey, welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Nick, and on this channel, I talk about things to do here in Myrtle Beach. I give tips and advice about the area, and I'm a real estate agent, so of course I talk about the real estate. So if you are thinking about relocating to the area, then be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and tap the little notification bell while you're at it. This way you can be the first to know about what's going on here in Myrtle Beach. I get calls every single day from people just like you or moving to the area. So if you ever have any questions, or if I can help you find a home here at the beach, then I would love to chat with you. You can always use the first link down in the description to schedule a call with me. So as I mentioned in the intro of today's video, I think that this one is a super important topic. I think at a minimum, it's going to save you a lot of time and it's going to save you a lot of energy. And depending on the specific situation, it could potentially also save you a lot of money. And it has to do with using a local lender when you're planning on financing your purchase here at the beach. So if you're planning on paying cash when you move here to the beach, then this video isn't necessarily for you, though I'd appreciate it if you stick around. It definitely does help me out. And at least go ahead and hit that thumbs up button if you're planning on leaving. For those of you who are financing, I recommend watching this all the way through the end of the video because I'm going to share with you some reasons why I think it's important to use a local lender. I'm going to share with you some mistakes some clients of mine have made in the past that, again, caused them a lot of stress, caused them a lot of heartache. Fortunately, it did not cost them any extra money, but I'm going to share with you some reasons why it could cost you extra money if you make these same mistakes. So we're going to go ahead and get into all that. So stick around. Again, hit that thumbs up button and let's talk about it. So just because I say you need to use a local lender here in Myrtle Beach, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use the specific lender or lenders that I recommend. Now, I do recommend them and prefer them for some specific reasons because I know how they work. I know how they communicate, not only with myself, but also with some of the other professionals that we work with, right? Closing attorneys, insurance agents. I know how they communicate with my clients. So I know that they're going to give you the best experience possible. But I understand if you don't want to use them, right? Some people say, oh, you're just recommending them because they're your friends and you want to give them business. No, that's not why I'm recommending them. But I understand if you want to shop rates around, if you think you can get a better deal, or if you just want to use somebody else, right? But again, I would hope that it's somebody local here in the Myrtle Beach area because I've had a few situations recently where we did not use local lenders and the situations became very difficult. And I'm going to go over some of the things that happened. But again, at a minimum, make sure you're talking to some local lenders. If you can find a better deal somewhere else and that's the only good deal that you can find, definitely run it by me. We can talk about that. If you can only get financing with one specific program from a lender that's in another state, they're the only ones that are going to approve you, fine. We can talk about that and we can talk about getting that deal done. But most people's situations are not one of those two things, right? Most people find a good deal here, they can get financing here, and again, it's going to make your life a lot smoother throughout the process. By the way, though, this does not mean that if you use a local lender that there's not going to be hiccups along the way, right? Things can always happen. And also, if you use an out-of-state or an out-of-town lender, it doesn't mean that there are going to be hiccups, right? That can still be a very smooth process. The issue is when hiccups occur, whether it's a local lender or an out-of-state or out-of-town lender, is the local lenders, they know how to handle it here in this state and in this area, right? They're familiar with the agents that are going to be on the other side. Again, they're familiar with the attorneys, the insurance reps, and again, they know how to communicate and get over those obstacles here at the beach, right? It might not always be smooth, it might not always be easy, but they know how to get the job done here. It doesn't mean those out-of-state lenders don't know how to get the job done in their state. I'm sure they're great lenders in their state, but things are different state by state. Contracts are different, the rules, the laws are all different, and there's a different process in the way that we do things. So when hiccups, hurdles come about in the transaction and there's an out-of-state lender involved, those hurdles are going to be harder to get over, right? And if the lender isn't necessarily communicating the issue properly, it's going to cause more issues because people, yourself, the buyer, myself, your agent, the listing agent, the seller might feel that they're being left in the dark, and then that's when the big problems happen. For example, a situation that I recently dealt with some buyer clients of mine, they ended up using an out-of-state lender. Doesn't matter what state they're from, just know they were out of state. The processes in that state are a little bit different. From my understanding, the purchase contract is a little bit different. They don't have specific deadlines for closing. The contract's a little bit vague. They say it can happen 30 days before the closing date that's set on the contract. It can happen 30 days after. Here in South Carolina, that's not the case. Our closing date is the closing date. If you don't hit that closing date, every party needs to agree on an extension. If they don't, the deal is completely voided. With this specific lender, we had a really long closing period, and that's for another situation. It didn't have anything to do with the lender, but my clients needed a longer closing period. The seller agreed to that, but the lender had plenty of time to get things done. It was over 2 months. And here in Myrtle Beach, here in South Carolina, we typically close finance deals in about 30 to 40 days on average, right? So that's like your normal closing period, 30 to 40 days. They had over 2 months. About a month into the deal, they said, hey, we have everything we need. We're ready to close. We told them we couldn't close yet and that the closing wouldn't be happening for a couple months. But that's great news. You guys have everything you need. Everything should be smooth from here on out. And we thought that it was until about 2 or 3 days before closing. And they reached out and said, hey, there's a couple of things that we still need. If you can help us get this, we should still be able to close on time. Spoiler alert, we did not close on time. They did not get the things that they needed. They were being a little bit vague with us on the things that they needed. And they basically just told us, hey, we need an extension through the end of the week. We're supposed to close, I think, on like a Monday or Tuesday. They're like, we can get it done on Friday. It ended up being a holiday week. So we said, hey, we have to close on Monday instead. Fine, no problem. All parties agreed. We moved on the next couple of days. They told us they had everything that they needed. Monday rolls around and they're still not ready to close. This happened a few times. We were about 2 weeks past the original closing date before we finally did close. And the silver lining of the story, the good news is we did end up closing. As I mentioned earlier, it did not end up costing my clients any extra money. However, the house that they were living in, they had to be out like 2 days after our original closing date. So they had to get out. They had to go find a place to live. As I mentioned, it was a holiday weekend, so that's not cheap here at the beach. They were living out of suitcases. Their furniture was in limbo. They had to get it out of the house, right? So a lot of moving parts, a lot of stress. And to top it all off, the lender, they weren't really communicating what the issue was, right? So that was really the biggest problem. The delay wasn't the problem, even though it should have never happened. They had plenty of time. But if they would have told us, hey, we need A, B, C, and D, and this is why we need A, B, C, and D, and this is why it's late, fine. I can communicate that to my clients. I can communicate that to the listing agent. They can communicate it to the seller, and we can all be on the same page and understand what's happening. The unfortunate part is that's not what the lender was communicating to us. They were communicating with us, hey, we're supposed to close today. We don't have everything we need, but we'll be ready by Friday. Wednesday, Thursday rolls around. Yes, we got everything we need. We're pushing it through underwriting. We'll be all set to close. Friday rolls around, hey, we're not ready to close. And it kept going in that same, what felt like a perpetual circle, right? It felt like we're all being lied to, felt like we're all being left in the dark. And again, this is where having a local professional that not only I know, but the listing agent might also know, because the good lenders in the area, they do a lot of business, they have good reputations. A lot of the good agents who do a lot of deals, they know who they are, they understand, they know how to get deals closed. And again, they communicate well. When they share issues that are happening, they share all the details so that everybody understands what's happening. We're all on the same page and we all trust that they can get the deal done. But this lender, unfortunately, again, they're kind of leaving us in the dark. They're being very vague, and they really didn't care about their reputation here, because they knew they were probably never going to do another deal here again, at least not with these agents, right? Their main business is in their home state, right? So when we started questioning them and letting them know, like, hey, our deadlines are the deadlines. We can't just keep pushing this out until you guys are ready. Like, we need proper updates so we can get everybody on the same page. And this is the way things are done in this state. Both myself and the closing attorney were communicating that to them. This was their response, verbatim, word for word. Am I the lender or are you the lender? I know how to do my job, so let me do my job, right? If a local lender here in Myrtle Beach said that to agents here at the beach during a course of a deal, when we were trying to get information, their reputation would be ruined, right? That would get around. So they would never do that. But again, the out-of-state lenders, they're putting their deals, their agents that they normally work with in their home state at a priority, right? Those are the ones where they need to put their best foot forward. Those are the ones that they need to make sure close on time. When issues happen, those are the ones that are getting handled first. Not this one-off deal in another state where they don't typically do business and they know they're probably not going to get a bunch of referrals, right? So again, if you have a local lender, they're going to put their best foot forward and try to make sure the process is as smooth as possible, even when the hiccups are coming about. Now, how this could have cost my clients extra money, thankfully it didn't. And I think one of the big reasons why is because the agent on the other side, the listing agent, she was an agent that is also in my office. So we know each other. We talk to each other on a regular basis. She trusts me. She trusts that my clients wanted to get this deal done. She trusts that I was doing everything that I could to get this deal done. She helped to keep her sellers calm when they were freaking out. So that allowed us to continue to move forward. But in another situation where it's maybe another agent who doesn't know me or we've never worked together before, they just didn't care because we're not in the same company, they might have said, hey, we reached our deadline. We're not going to extend this contract unless your clients are willing to pay us more money. Now that we're 75 days into this deal and you're not closing on time, right? And if my clients really wanted this house, which they did, we saw a lot of houses. I told you we need an extended closing period. We tried to get this home under contract even earlier, but the seller didn't want to accept a closing period, escrow period for that long of a time frame. So we came back to the house at a later date, made another offer. They really wanted this house. There was no other house that fit their needs. There was no other house that they envisioned themselves living in. They would have been stuck paying more money if the situation was just a little bit different, right? So, and the seller could have at that point asked for whatever they wanted. And then, that new price would have to go through underwriting, and we're kind of starting the process all over again. So you kind of see how these things could potentially start to add up to, again, not only cause you a lot of stress because now you have to find a place to live during a holiday week when all the hotels are booked and the prices are super high. You have nowhere to put your furniture, but now it's also costing you even more money because the seller, that's the only way they're agreeing to extend the contract, right? And these are just some of the things that can happen, right? There's a lot of other ways that this can go wrong. Again, the biggest thing is the processes are just different state by state, right? Every state has different contracts. Generally, the rules and the laws are similar, yes, but things do happen in different orders. And, as those things start to add up throughout the process, it can cause a 2-week delay like it did in this specific situation. Now, I know that I'm rambling on a little bit, but I really did want to get this point across. Again, this situation could have been a lot worse, right? The sellers could have been like, hey, screw you. Like, you guys messed up. You've already asked for 2 or 3 extensions. We're moving on. We're going to put the home back on the market and we don't want to close with you. They could have asked for more money. They could have asked for as much money as they wanted to, and my clients would have had to decide, hey, if we want this house, we need to pay it, otherwise we need to move on. My clients, throughout the process, by the time we got like 10 days past the closing date, the original closing date, they started to get worried. They started to lose faith that the lender was actually going to get things done, right? They weren't being open and honest with them either. They kept telling all of us like, hey, we're going to be ready to close tomorrow. We just need this one last thing. Tomorrow would come, and we just kept getting the same story. So my clients started to lose faith like, hey, they're not actually going to close this deal. They started looking for other homes. They were very upset. Right? I had many difficult conversations with them that, hey, if this doesn't end up going in the right direction, we're going to have to find you something else. Keep in mind, they had to move out of the home that they were living in about 2 days after our original closing period, which means we would have had to start the whole process over with another lender. We'd have had to find them another home, go through an entire closing process, and they would have been living in a hotel, paying all of that extra money for the next 30, 45 days. That's if we were able to find them a home that they liked and they were happy with right away, right? So the situation could have been a lot worse, but I want to share this story, share this information with you to hopefully help you avoid this and hopefully help to avoid your situation being worse. If you use a local lender, you can still shop around the rate. There's plenty of local lenders in the area. They all might charge different fees. They all might be able to offer you different products that can get you a better rate, discount points, buy down points, whatever. You can still shop it all around, but just make sure, again, it's people local here to Myrtle Beach. Some similar situations are clients of mine who have used like some of the big box lenders, such as Rocket Mortgage, for example. I had a situation, I think it was last year, where a week before closing, the lender went on vacation. Now, we didn't have his cell phone number because he's a big box lender. He works 9 to 5 in the office. All we had was his office phone number. We called him to get an update a week before closing. And there's an away message saying, hey, I'm going to be out of town for the next 10 days. If you need anything, please call the 1-800 number. Now we're stuck working the cycle in the 1-800 number, trying to get answers from people who have no idea what we're talking about because he's just an employee at this place. They don't have all the details of the deal, versus if it was a local lender, they would have updated us, hey, I'm going on vacation. Here's my cell phone number. I'll still be here to help you along the way. I just might not answer right away. Oh, by the way, if they're local and they go away without letting us know, we can call their office manager. They're going to know what's going on and have some information on the deal, more so than, again, with like a Rocket Mortgage. Again, can deals still get done with these out-of-town lenders? Yes. Can deals still get done with Rocket Mortgage? Yes. But is it going to make your life a little bit more difficult? Yes, potentially. So if you want to save some of that heartache, again, I recommend calling a local lender. And I'm just going to leave it at that because, again, I've been rambling on. This video is getting a little bit long, and I don't need to drag it out, right? The point I made is the point I made. So I want to thank you for watching. If you learned anything new, I'd appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button down below. If you are ready to move to the beach and find your home here at the beach, then I would love to help you out. You can always use the first link down in the description to schedule a call with me. Again, thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to speaking with you, and I will see you in the next one.